Han-Ki refugee camp, northern Iraq. A family is burying a young woman they say was killed while escaping a group calling itself the Islamic State. Her father told us what happened. They're part of the Yezidi religion, one of the groups targeted by the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, also known as ISIL. No one knows how many Yazidis were killed because ISIL-held territory is off limits to journalists and human rights workers. But tens of thousands had to flee their homes after ISIL fighters captured their towns and villages in June. ISIL now controls as much as 1/3 of Iraq's territory, including the second largest city, Mosul. Though its power and influence expanded in Syria, it's here where ISIL was born, during the nearly 9-year-long U.S. occupation. Fault lines traveled 600 miles across Iraq to look at the consequences of the fight against ISIL and how U.S. allies are also helping to divide Iraq more than ever. When ISIL advanced this summer, people across the country's northern provinces fled, some of them to neighboring Syria. We're on a floating bridge over the Tigris. This is the hinterland between Syria and Iraq, and this is the bridge where refugees are flooding through every day into the country. How long have you been coming? How many days? The U.S. began bombing ISIL in part to rescue stranded Yazidis on a mountaintop. But as refugees continued to leave the area 2 weeks later, they said the help was not enough.
ام بخده و امریکا هکا امریکا بریتانیا تشتکش مرا کر مالا وانا با تشتکش مرا نکر همش بنیچو ناوی من امینه والله ناوی من امینه فب هزار عائله مت کجنت شنگاره دا هب داکا في زلامي امري بولچوي دا هذا داکا خغور کرا احكا حق كاني حقي ما چيا ما چكرا روجك ما عبوك في النهايه روجك ما سري كيجي كرا ما چكرا ام بلنغازنا فقيرا.
There were so many allegations of what went in Mount Sinjar. President Obama called the situation an impending act of genocide. Others called it a humanitarian crisis. Unfortunately, it seems that the entire incident was used as, just a soundbite in a presidential speech to justify U.S. intervention. But once that soundbite was used, no one remembered them anymore.
Hey, excuse me. Where are you coming from? They've been on the mountain for 2 weeks? 2 weeks. How did they escape? For families tied to the land, such displacement can be devastating.
والله سيارتي باقي عندي سيارة بالحوش باقي وبيتي كله باقي ضد كانين من الويدري معنا صدق اني مغازي شغلي ما عمل غازيت شغلي بخدي وجد كان ده ما قلتهم هذا بستان نربي الغنم مالنا قلنا بلكي الداعش يروح من الجريه نرجع ما ظل احد ما قدرنا نرجع.
Comes another truck now. They're just now leaving Syria and about to go into Iraq. They have the threat of the Islamic State behind them, but what they don't know is
their hardest times may be yet to come, because what lays ahead of them is a humanitarian crisis where tens of thousands of people are without access to regular food, water, shelter, or sanitary needs.
The refugee camps begin only a few miles east of the bridge. The United Nations estimates about 1 million Iraqis have been displaced since ISIL started capturing more territory. Around 6,000 Yazidis are staying at Hanki refugee camp.
Conditions here are nothing short of brutal. Temperature somewhere between 110, 120 degrees. The wind and dirt is blowing so that it's hard to keep your eyes open, and there's really nothing to shield these people from that. They have their tents, but it's even hotter inside the tent during the day. The water they have to drink is hot, and the food is not enough, is what they tell us.
The thing is here that everybody they want to go outside of Iraq.
Our people being kidnapped, girls raped, women raped, children being killed, men being killed. All these Syrian people want to get out from here. They all want to get out from here. They all want to go to Germany. We need someone to help us. These people need someone to help. We all want to get out from here. We don't want to stay here. That's our plan.
In the rush to escape ISIL's advance, Haji Simu lost track of two of his daughters, aged 13 and 16. He doesn't know if they are alive.
ازدي همود وكمني نازبتني ازدي همود وكمني نما سلازبتني 6 و6 سال اذكر همان محسن بدت من قابمان او همان بو بابا باي هاتن خو خلاص کا من زاني كينا ما والله من زاني المهم ما نفسه خو خلاص ما بازدا نارو رم كيرم مكان سوريا مش اول ملي ما من افزارو قد كتك اف مالي خدت شهر بينش زارو من مزنن كور زارو قد كتك استعمل من خوكن مجي غرات اللي تقتن سيو شفت عائله में زارو में بمن كلمه الميدا خوانا دبي وانا با اول مطبخه هر يكي هات 10 نفس بن 6 نفس بن 6 نفس با ودت المعونه ويدا هذا هو افهموا زارو قد هاي مرن ام همو مرن يعني هل ممكن باو باران في شادري عائله بينا No.
The only place in the world that Yazidis are found in large numbers is northern Iraq, where they live in communities built around their religious shrines. But they say they have no future here because they feel they are targets of a genocide.
چند يزيدي اقليات يزيدي فلاح ويزيدي اقليات فلاح ويزيدي النيف عربنا عايشين اوروبا ودبره امريكي تحليل كر حللاند ام شنو صار ملكي خو هروش ما كوجن هروش ما كوجن تعدل ناموسا مد كن كچه مد بنو جنه مد بنو ناموسا مد بنو وشخص مد دين ما دين مد فجرين احتمال كما بيننا
ISIL is not the only group in Iraq driving people from their homes. Some Iraqi factions that are supported by the United States are accused of carrying out their own ethnic and sectarian cleansing. A half-day drive from the Yazidis' refugee camp, we reached Makmur, a town near the front line that was overrun by ISIL in July, but then taken back in August.
Did you fight the Islamic State here when they came?
It wasn't the Iraqi army that reclaimed the town. but Peshmerga fighters, militiamen loyal to Iraq's autonomous northern Kurdish region. In many areas, they're enforcing a policy in which Arabs are not allowed to return to their homes. This Kurdish fighter took us to an empty Arab home and told us he didn't mind seeing the family go.
It was an Arab family that lived here, and now they've fled. Do you think families like this should return to Makmur?
والله من بهم خوشك عربنا مخمورين بي نا والله يق عرب نيت بهم خوشا كرد همنا مخمور جديد ناسي هم خوين هم براينا عرب بيتن وزعمات تقدتي عرب نيت بيزنا وعدش
Man, you can tell it was a hasty departure. They're just pulling what they could out of the closet and out of their drawers.
خرابيات تدابو باشيان تدابو بس خرابشان زور تدابو زارش كعرب نينو ولو يستوزع من زور خوشا عربي تدانيا هم الكردنو سببي أو مشكلة معربة أجر عرب نبيتن تلفون كاري نبيتن داعش نازولي استا كردنا وخومان هم لقي اتفاقي هم لقي شيء خيان ما تدانيا.
We tried to talk to some of the Arab families that had fled Makmur, but we weren't able to find any who were willing to be interviewed. It wasn't just the Peshmerga who told us that Arab families were no longer welcome here. Abdullah Tahir Mohammed is the head of the Kurdistan Democratic Party in Makmur, the major political party here.
عربي تدا هيا بلام لبر خصوصيتي منطقة كي استا أو كاتي استا رنجا بيمان باش نبيتن كوا عرب لو وقت بيتو أجرنا لا يعني أما ملتي جين بس سودان صالة رنجا زير دستبون ظلم ما ندكيتن لكاتك دا من ملتي شي سر بخوينا بلام قريد راوي ملتي شي تربوينا ناو ملتي عرب رنجا اموكو أو بشكل سريد جين أو بشكل كردستانيا بلان هبو كوا إما لنا ونتوي عرب بتاوينوا يعني أما لو خمان حقش مشروع خمانا كسر بخوي استكاتي شباشة زور باشا يسلبوا سر بخوي كردستان.
Do you want the Arab families to return or to stay away?
قلتني شاري مخمور لطعنا بريم سيقان أصلا سيقان ما نخي.
The divisions in Iraq extend beyond Arab and Kurd. 150 miles southeast of Makmur, we visited a refugee camp in Diyala province, where Sunnis say they were displaced by Shia militias.
The entire front line is scattered with refugee camps, and each with their own harrowing stories. This camp is full of Arab families, and they're not so concerned about the battle with the Islamic State because that's not who they fled from. They tell us that they fled from the Iraqi army and the government-allied Shiite militias.
Since the 2003 U.S. invasion, most of the country's power has been consolidated in the hands of the Shia majority. The government of former Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki has been criticized for marginalizing Sunnis and excluding them from the political process. During Saddam Hussein's rule, it was Sunnis who were favored over Shias. Now, during the fight against ISIL, the Iraqi government, dominated by Shias, is receiving more support and weapons from the U.S.
The U.S. is stepping into an extremely bloody, complicated civil conflict, and we're funding and arming Kurdish and Shiite militias to attack Sunni areas. Iraqis will not see this as a fight against extremism, especially Iraqi Sunnis. They will see it as an attack against their neighborhood. The U.S. is only taking sides in a sectarian and ethnic conflict supporting some extremist groups against other extremist groups.
Abu Ali once fought in Saddam Hussein's army. He asked us not to show his face for fear of retribution from the militias. He said that Shia militias that had formerly fought U.S. forces in Iraq are taking advantage of U.S. backing to target Sunnis, namely Asayab Ahel al-Haq.
صارت حرب دخلوا علينا العصائب وبالطائرات والبراميل ميليشيا شيعية.
Were they supported by the Iraqi army or Iraqi police?
الجيش جا وياهم طبعا، بس الجيش ما له أي دور لأن هي تتحكم به. احنا شفناهم شوف عين، هم من دخلوا بس هو من زحف من صار مثلا خلينا نقول من قدام، احنا اندفعنا للأخير على ما طلعنا كنا ولا شفناهم شوف عين احنا. هي شفناهم جو هم وسوات وياهم.
The Shiite militias that have been funded and trained by the Iraqi security forces and now by the US have been committing gross violations. Human Rights Watch has documented murders and crimes and torture committed by both the Iraqi central government's forces directly or by Shiite militias affiliated with it.
The refugees here say they are caught between multiple armed groups, from ISIL to the Shia militias, and they don't know if they will ever be able to go back home.
نريد نرجع، نريد الأمان، وتعبنا هنا تعبنا لأن ماكو شيء يقوينا. يعني البارحة أنا ب 12 بالليل أفاع هنا، عقارب هنا، كل يوم ملدوغين 2 3. يعني هو هذا مو حال، مي ما تلقى، ل 12 ل 10 يخلص المي. لأن هم من موجودين راح الميليشيات أو الطائرات راح تقصف. هي داعش أصلاً هي مجرمة من قبل دول العالم. مجرمة، تجريم جرموها. بس دول العالم مدى تجرم العصابات اللي تكتب بالشارع. هذا أكثر من داعش، مو داعش بعد.
أنا ولد العصائب.
Near the end of our trip to Iraq, we came across Shia militia fighters from Asayab al-Haq. They were recapturing a village from ISIL in the eastern province of Salahuddin. None of them would speak to us on camera, but their allies in this battle, Kurdish Peshmerga fighters, agreed to take us to the front.
This is Dash. This is the village Salman Bek. Yesterday, the Islamic State was holding this village. They first got there in June. There were airstrikes from the US last night. Now Peshmerga has gone in and taken the village. They've got the road blocked, so we had to leave our car and we're walking up here to see what's happening. In fact, this village has been so recently taken that they haven't even really taken down the Islamic State flags yet. You can see the black flag right on top of a silo beside the road here. At an IUD. Everyone's a bit startled because of the fire, but it's actually one of the Peshmerga guys firing into something. He's trying to see if it's an IED or not. They say the road is booby-trapped, so they're going to take us around to a different way to get into the village. This is a booby-trap from the Islamic State. Don't walk over there. We've just crossed about 3/4 of a mile of open territory to get here with these Pesh soldiers and find out that they're behind this wall because there's actually a sniper around the corner here. Then they sent a unit out this way to clear out that sniper.
In Suleiman Bek, we didn't see any Iraqi troops, but we did come across a commander from the government's Ministry of Interior who told us he was helping to coordinate the battle.
لا احنا عندهم امر لواء واحنا عندنا امر لواء، يتم التنسيق مع امر لواء موجود بالعصائب او موجود بقوات بدر او موجود بالجيش المهدي، يتم التنسيق وياه معه، وكل مجموعه منسقه ويا مجموعه، اكو تنسيق موجود، كل محور عليه مجموعه، يتم التنسيق ويا المحور الموجود به.
they're not just fighting ISIL. Shia militias in the Peshmerga are trying to consolidate control over disputed areas along the Islamic State's border.
Things on the ground indicate that it is a fight for more territory. It is a fight for more natural resources. It's a fight for power.
Not far from the Iranian border, we met a Peshmerga officer who's part of the siege of the city of Jalala. The Kurds have never been able to hold on to the city as part of their territory, but they hope that will soon change.
Our forces start from there, okay? Jalala is surrounded by our forces.
Right.
Oh, do you see that?
Those two guys?
Yes, they are Peshmerga.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're talking about. Look at that smoke that just went up there.
This is artillery shots from our artilleries. As you guys see, we have tanks and artillery, so if we see any activities, we just shoot them.
What would you see?
We see Humvees moving, and there's heavy weapons on these trucks. They're taking advantage of these armored trucks.
Are all these guys Peshmerga?
Yes, all of them are Peshmerga, but some of them get paid from the Ministry of Peshmerga, but others are like volunteers. And they're coming to fight because they think that we are fighting for lands, not just for money.
So, like this gentleman is...
Yeah, like this guy, he has injured twice just on this battle.
Wow.
And he just keep fighting.
He's a volunteer?
Yes, he's a volunteer.
Now, why does he do it again?
He thinks that these lands belong to Khorasan, so we need to take it back.
If the Peshmerga does take back Jalala, will they keep it for Kurdistan?
They will keep it for Khorasan, and they will not kick any people out.
Does it seem unrealistic to maintain a policy of one Iraq?
Iraq should be divided into 3 regions. We had a good experience, we had a good examples when Maliki governed Iraq for 8 years, 2 terms. We just saw more IEDs, more killings, more explosions. And there is a one truth here in Iraq. Sunni and Shia cannot live together. They cannot live.
Before the battle even begins, factions that are allied against ISIL are already struggling over who will take control of each city.
Our plan was to agree with the IA to come up to the plan.
The Peshmerga and the Iraqi army can't agree on who will hold on to Jalala if it's recaptured. So the attack on the city is on hold for now.
We have an argument about Jalala. Who will control Jalala after we retake it from ISIS guys?
Is this crisis or a conflict an opportunity for the Kurds to extend their borders?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
It is. It will be like our great opportunities.
As the Peshmerga and Shia militias pursue their own agendas, their alliance is threatening to unravel. And it's unlikely to extend beyond the battle against the Islamic State.
These are 2 different factions who are collaborating with the US, not really collaborating with each other. They don't work together at all. They don't work under the same command. At the end of the day, if they had the chance to kill each other to take more territory or oil or support, they will do it. Because the way that the country is built will definitely put all of these different sectarian and ethnic groups on the path of colliding against each other.